Welcome to Fun Facts Online, where we dive deep into the stories that shape our world. Today, we're tackling a story of international relations that sounds more like a Hollywood thriller than a history lesson. Imagine two of the world's most bitter rivals, nations that today stand on the brink of all-out war. Now, what if I told you that just a few decades ago, they were close partners, sharing intelligence, oil, and military technology? It sounds impossible, but it's the true story of Iran and Israel. Let's trace the incredible arc of this relationship, from a strategic alliance to one of the most explosive rivalries on the planet. In the early days, after its founding in 1948, Israel was a small nation surrounded by hostile Arab states. To survive, its first prime minister, David Ben-Gurion, came up with a clever strategy he called the Alliance of the Periphery. The idea was to build friendships with non-Arab countries on the edges of the Middle East, and who was a perfect candidate? Iran. A non-Arab, Shia-majority nation with its own historical tensions with its Arab neighbors. Under the rule of Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, who was backed by the West, Iran and Israel quietly blossomed into partners. In fact, Iran became the second Muslim-majority country to officially recognize Israel as a sovereign state. This wasn't just a symbolic gesture. This partnership was deep and practical. During the 1960s and 70s, Iran became a vital source of oil for Israel, at one point supplying nearly 70% of its needs through a jointly owned pipeline. This was especially crucial when other Arab nations imposed oil boycotts. In return, Israel sent Iran its advanced agricultural technology to make the deserts bloom and helped build up Iran's infrastructure. The cooperation even extended to military and intelligence. Israel provided training and technical support for the Shah's armed forces. For both nations, aligned with the United States during the Cold War, this relationship was a cornerstone of their foreign policy. But then, everything changed. The year was 1979, and the Islamic Revolution swept through Iran. The Shah was overthrown, and a new leader, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, rose to power. This was a seismic shift. The new regime in Iran was built on a foundation of fervent anti-Western and, specifically, anti-Israel ideology. Ayatollah Khomeini famously labeled the United States the Great Satan and Israel the Little Satan. Almost overnight, all ties were severed. The Israeli embassy in Tehran was shut down and handed over to the Palestine Liberation Organization, the PLO. Israel was no longer seen as a partner, but as an illegitimate Zionist entity and an outpost of Western imperialism. Yet, in a strange twist of realpolitik, even in this new era of hatred, some secret ties remained. During the brutal Iran-Iraq War of the 1980s, Israel saw Iraq's Saddam Hussein as the more immediate threat. So, believe it or not, Israel secretly supplied military hardware to Iran to help its war effort. In one of the most famous examples of this covert cooperation, Israel bombed and destroyed Iraq's Osirak nuclear reactor in 1981, a move that directly benefited Iran. But this secret cooperation was the last gasp of a dead relationship. By the 1990s, the Cold War was over, and Iraq was weakened. The old strategic reasons for working together were gone. The quiet partnership devolved into an open, but indirect, hostility. This was the beginning of the era of proxy warfare. Iran began building what it calls the Axis of Resistance, a network of state and non-state groups across the Middle East designed to challenge Israeli and American influence. This allowed Tehran to fight its enemies without engaging in direct, conventional warfare. The most powerful of these proxies is Hezbollah in Lebanon. Formed in the aftermath of Israel's 1982 invasion of Lebanon, and with extensive funding, training, and weaponry from Iran, Hezbollah has become a formidable military and political force on Israel's northern border. Iran also became a major supporter of Palestinian factions like Islamic Jihad and Hamas, despite the Shia-Sunni divide, united by a shared goal of opposing Israel. This shadow war has been fought for decades, with Israel conducting hundreds of airstrikes in places like Syria to stop Iranian weapon shipments and prevent its forces from setting up camp near its borders. But the biggest flashpoint, the one that both sides view as an existential struggle, is Iran's nuclear program. Israel, which is widely believed to have its own undeclared nuclear arsenal, sees the possibility of a nuclear-armed Iran as a threat to its very existence. Israeli leaders have repeatedly stated they will do whatever it takes to stop Iran from getting the bomb. This has led to a multi-pronged campaign of sanctions, cyber attacks, like the famous Stuxnet virus, and even the alleged assassinations of several Iranian nuclear scientists. Iran, for its part, has always maintained its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes, like energy and medicine, but its lack of transparency and advancing uranium enrichment have only fueled Israeli and international fears. For years, this was a shadow war, fought through proxies and covert operations. But recently, the conflict has spilled out into the open. Following the Hamas attack in October 2023, skirmishes on the Israel-Lebanon border with Hezbollah intensified dramatically. Then, in April 2024, a line was crossed. An Israeli airstrike hit an Iranian consulate in Damascus, killing senior Iranian military officials. Iran's response was unprecedented. For the first time ever, it launched a massive wave of hundreds of drones and missiles directly at Israel. Israel retaliated with its own strikes inside Iran. The shadow war was over. A direct, state-on-state conflict had begun. The situation only escalated. Later that year, Iran launched another volley of ballistic missiles at Israel in retaliation for the assassinations of Hamas and Hezbollah leaders. By mid-2025, reports emerged of major Israeli airstrikes targeting Iran's nuclear and military sites in what was described as a preemptive strike. The two nations, once partners, now stand on the precipice of a full-scale war, a conflict that could engulf the entire Middle East. The story of Iran and Israel is a dramatic, tragic tale of how a friendship of convenience can sour into a deeply ideological and dangerous rivalry. It's a stark reminder that in geopolitics, the lines between friend and foe can be redrawn in an instant, with potentially devastating consequences for the entire world.